Hello, everybody. We are live again for another Unapologetically Bold, I'm Not Sorry For. And I am blessed today to have Wendy on with me. If anybody knows Wendy, she is such a fun and loving and charismatic person. So I'm excited for people to get to know her. But also, she has a really deep and almost dark story that comes, but the joy that she saw in it all. So before we get started, I do want to continue to ask y'all to like, subscribe, and share.
Yes.
Yes. To Unapologetically Bold and Worksby and the things that we do, because the goal is to continue to bring humanity to your news feed, but also things that you can use in life, because we're all humans and we all have a story to tell, and finding ways that we can embrace who we are as humans. And this woman here totally embraces who she is as a human. So thank you for joining me today, Wendy.
The honor is totally mine. Thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Awesome. So before we get started, Wendy, I know that we're going to go into your full story, but just tell people a little bit about you beforehand.
Okay, easy. I'm a mom. Married for 33 years. I'm Wendy. I'm married to Peter, like Peter Pan. And no, he never grew up, so it's good. And English literature degree. I really only have I have 4 kids, but I only have 3 skills. Three skills. And I can write, I can tell a good story, and I collect amazing people who do the rest of the cool stuff that we have planned. Like, hey, let's do this. So I produce feature films for a living. We've written a trilogy, and we'll talk about that a little bit, which so touches on all of this, so influenced by what we went through. And a trilogy called My Golden Blood, and a book to film to gaming. And so that's what we're working on.
I love it.
So I spent a lot of time in Seattle hanging out with my parents, who have some significant health issues, and I get to relearn how to love my parents, and it's really fascinating.
You're such a fascinating and awesome person. So again, that's the reason why I'm so excited for you to be on today. So the show's called Unapologetically Bold. So
Yep.
Wendy, what are you not sorry for?
So I am the extreme of super not sorry for being in a prison cell and finding joy in a prison cell. So the very short, like I was trying to rehearse it in my head before, like how can I do this in a minute? I'm a film producer. I was invited to Iowa to produce feature films at the end of 2 successful projects, one with my entertainment attorney. We had 3 attorneys working with us full time to facilitate the process of navigating all the laws that they had in Iowa. And the state film commissioner kept saying, please do more. The governor at the time, please do more. He's long gone. This is great. What you're doing is great. You're really helping us reinvigorate the economic development system. There's so many people who are disadvantaged, and we can really, utilize all their skills, and carpenters and plumbers and electricians and stuff like that on a film set. So it worked great. It was a great idea. Until 33 states currently have some kind of film incentives. The program collapsed, and it collapsed on me primarily. So a lot of other producers were suing for contracts that were ratified by the state, and they were winning, and the state was having to pay out money. But the state owed me the most. I had 11 contracts for a total of about $84 million of future projects. I had recruited like Penny Marshall, may she rest in peace, like her producers to their next. They had a really awesome film they were going to shoot in Iowa. And we're looking at shooting in Iowa, and the movie The Help. I know the producers, and they were looking. So there's like really a lot of that. That's what they directed me to do. Hey, do more. Well, when it collapsed, they're like, well, we owe her $84 million, or actually half of that, so $42 million. But we don't want to pay her, and she can sue like everybody else. So they came down on me legally, really intensely, and 15 felony counts at one point in time, and it was like one thing after another. And at the end of they'd like throw all these charges at me, and then take them away, and then throw other charges. It was just crazy. From the time I was arrested on February 10th of 2010, 10 years ago, to today, they've never questioned me. All the way through trial, they never asked me what happened. They never said, hey, could you explain this? They didn't really care what the truth was. They just decided I was guilty of something, and they had to convict me so that their contracts are automatically nullified. Otherwise, they owed me all that money. So I went through an 8-day trial. At the end of an 8-day trial that was crazy intense, with a fantastic attorney by the name of Matthew Whitaker, who later has just recently served as the acting Attorney General of the United States. So, and my very dear friend, and he was incredibly supportive. And he said, they're throwing plea bargains at you because they know you're going to take the stand. Rule number one in a trial, and this is my first trial of any kind. I've never even had a speeding ticket, really. So, maybe I talked my way out of one time, a long time ago, but I never really had one. So because you gotta try. So they said, well, we'll stand silent during sentencing. We won't recommend a sentence. Just plead guilty to one thing and you can go home. So I said, if you're telling me that I wasn't supposed to listen to the state official who gave me a directive, he had 9 felony counts against him and he was going to court afterwards. If you're telling me that I wasn't supposed to listen to him, I didn't know. I accept responsibility. I'm not Nancy Pelosi. I accept the responsibility for my actions. And I said, and I apologize. And the judge came back and it was, again, they didn't know what I was going to say on the stand. So that's why they had to give me a plea bargain. And here was the kicker. There was $0 of restitution. If you and I park illegally outside, we get a parking ticket, pay $50 or $80 or $200, whatever it is, that's restitution. I had 0 restitution. They said I wasn't supposed to forward an email to another company. That was my charge. So basically, I said I accept responsibility. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to trust him or forward his email to this other company. I didn't know. And the judge came back, some 6 weeks later, and he sentenced me to 10 years in a women's maximum security prison for defrauding, to corrupting 2 different departments of state government. Like, I am not remotely smart enough to do any of the things they said I did. Like, I'm serious. How do you defraud? I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
They shackled me up and took me away. My attorney, I had this really nice prostitute in prison, and the holding cell is like, oh, honey, if you got a good attorney, you can get an appeal bond and you could be out here today. And I was. And then we fought it for 2 years. And meanwhile, I was subpoenaed, and I showed up, as opposed to people in my case. I was subpoenaed to testify in the state film commissioner's trial. And about 8 weeks after I was sentenced to 10 years, same judge, he was on trial for 9 felony counts, and I testified. And on his behalf, I was a defense witness. I said, we were told to do by him, but what the state was telling him to do. And he was acquitted on 8 counts, and the 1 count he was convicted of was felonious misconduct in office for misdirecting me. So he was convicted of misdirecting me. I said he misdirected me. I was responsible for accepting that. He was convicted, and the same judge gave him a $750 fine. And he walked away.
And that's the part that I hear too of hearing your story is, so anybody that's tuned in, and basically it is that you were wrongly and unjustly convicted of a crime, and you got 10 years because you were owed money, and the person above you got $750 fine. And you're
right. The state official, the dude who told me what to do. And he's like, oh, well, the judge is like, sir, you were clearly overworked. Okay.
And that's the thing that I love about this is that too, anybody that's reaching that point, for me, how much bitterment that you could have. And so I think that's the beauty of going to the next part of the story.
So interesting. So I fought it. I fought the sentence for 2 years, and the state, no, they weren't going to, had they one time asked me, do you intend to sue for these contracts? The answer is no. I'm not taking money from people I didn't do the work. We hadn't started those projects. So there was no reason to come after me, except it felt good to them. Especially after he was, convicted of misdirecting me, like whatever. So fast forward, 2 years later, I surrendered February 7th of 2013. So the trial was 2011, 2013, I surrendered. My kids thinking that I'm going away for 10 years. I said goodbye to my husband and my kids. I told them not to come visit me, that I would be fine not to come visit me, because I'd heard a lot of stories about how, gross it was, and rightly so. And they respected that. And it was hard, and we spoke, and it was hard. It was hard to make a phone call home. It was just, you're like, I mean, physically hard, like, can you get to a phone and does it work and everything? And the other side of it is like, hard to hear their voices, hard to hear the lady coming 1 minute, that mechanical lady saying, you have 1 minute left, and knowing that's all I have with the kids or my husband, or like, it was those, there were some brutalities on my parent, like, it was brutal. That said, you can choose that this message, this path you're on is hell, or you can choose that it's heaven. So my mother, God bless her, planted this idea in my head. I'm 55, so like 56 years ago, probably, that I'm never uncomfortable anywhere. And I never had 1 minute that I was uncomfortable. It sounds crazy. Like, I'm in a maximum security prison, and there was a woman who lived below me in this unit, first unit I was in, and she killed her grandchild and sacrificed it to the devil. I'm not talking like, oh, these are women who, whoops, I bounced a check one time. These are women who, there were people who their life plus 25. There were women who were wrongly convicted and did not belong there, didn't know how the system worked, and just got into it. All of a sudden, they're lifers. And two of whom, God bless, are now free. One whose commutation I wrote, thank God, and one who I was able to work with a little bit, but she, on her own, 32 and a half years, she was in prison for a crime she did not commit as a child. She didn't commit, and she walks free. And they're my Facebook friends now, which is just crazy cool. So there are more left there. I mean, there was a woman there who used to pull weeds. That's what she did all day long. She would pull weeds. What had she done? She was mad at her parents once. So in anger, she burnt down the house, not knowing that her two younger siblings were in the house and they were killed. You can't imagine the kind of, the things you're going to, the sadness, the depravity, the stuff you're going to find. So then when it's dark, you can really see the stars, because there's just a little bit of light is so magnified. So I just chose to see the stars, and the greatness in people and their willingness to change and try. And like we spoke about before, be lobsters, they have a shell, they're squishy little things, and they're hatch, and they go under a rock, and their shell forms, and they come out and do lobster things. But that lobster shell cracks, and they have to go into a place they're vulnerable, and the shell forms again, and it does it like 15 times over their life. We have to be uncomfortable. So I was like, okay, well, if this is how uncomfortable I have to be to get to the next level of lobsterness, then I'm going to have to do it. And it was super interesting. Like, I really looked at it like, I'm never good. Who gets this opportunity? Especially a filmmaker. Who gets this kind of opportunity? So I'm like, okay, God, you put me here for a reason. And some of the guards would come to me and they'd say, when do you get out of here? Like, when can you leave? Well, and I'd say, the minute God decides, I can do more good outside than inside. But right now I'm here. So it was super interesting to have this, like, sociological, like, people come to me all the time. Oh, she'll help you. Like, along with the Muslim ladies and the white supremacist lady. Like, it was like, oh, and here I'm a Jewish gal, and I was so obviously Jewish, and they were like, I never had a minute where I was fearful. Take it back. A couple of the guards were predatory, and that was kind of creepy, really creepy. And I had to like threaten them back, push them back. But otherwise, like, that was, let them know that I knew and I had a voice. I only had 2 people on my visitors list total. My rabbi came in. That was great, but he became a volunteer. I was able to have my attorney came in, pretty high-powered guy. And then I had have a very dear friend who has a very big national media stage. And I knew if something really bad happened, I could call on him and the media would come down on it. But so I had my backup. But I mean, and my husband was okay managing the kids. 2 of them were away. One was married. One was in New York in college, and 2 of them were home. And we just like kept pushing, just assuming that God has a plan. And then exactly, 7 years ago last week, I get a call, the gates open, and I walked free, and that was it. So what do you do when you're in the darkest place? Like, the darkest place, how do you find joy? You got to reduce it to this very second. It's not, oh my gosh, I can see the stars, but it's, I can see one star. What is it that you can do? Like, if you open your eyes and you close your eyes and you trust that when you open them again, there's going to be something great out there. You trust. It's not faith. That faith is kind of ephemeral. It comes and goes. Oh, I lack faith. No. Trust is something that cannot be broken. And so I choose to have that relationship with God, that I trust that he's doing this in my best interests.
Mhm. And I love that, and I think that's the part. I'm a person of faith, and you know that, and the trusting, and God
How we
is.
connected right away. It's like,
Yeah. But for people too, either way, it's the things that sometimes that we trust in sometimes can be a path that does not feel like it should be going on. It's always talk about in the
right.
beginning about me having my child out of wedlock, and it's like, I'm the good girl. I'm not supposed to have all of this stuff. And now how it has blessed me in my business and how it has blessed me
In your heart,
in my
your heart,
heart.
and everything comes from that. Like, oh, this was supposed to be. It's not what I planned. Isn't it funny how few plans ever come to fruition? Like, okay, this is what my life's going to be. Like, I wasn't really good at that. I didn't know what kind of man I was going to marry. Like, my friend's like, oh, he's going to be tall and he's going to come in on a white horse. And I'm like, I don't want a white horse. I'll ride my horse. I want somebody who's going to argue with me. Because,
Mhm.
there's a Jewish expression, your spouse, your partner should be your friend against you. What
Ooh.
does that mean? So it's not like, oh, yes, honey, whatever you want to do. They have to say, do you really want to do that? They have to be comfortable enough to say, like, what were you thinking?
Mhm.
And that. And what if, and you have to have that openness where you can say, wow, somebody sees that, okay, not everything I'm doing is in my own best interest, and they'll kind of yank you back. That's what your friend against you does. It's that
Mhm.
push to be better. And so I
I love
started.
that. And I think that's a question I want to have for you on this is in all this chaos and all this time that you went through, one, I love the beauty that you didn't see it as chaos and that you saw the blessing of it. But for people
Frankly,
that
it was so cool, and I laughed so much. Like, I saw the humor in things it was just crazy. Some things were just crazy, and humor is such a blessing.
Mhm.
I mean, have you ever like had a really good laugh and have a really good cry and you feel like, oh, I needed that. Okay, that's good. Have a really good laugh and think, oh, I needed that. So,
Mhm. And
okay,
but I
sorry.
think too, talking about to people about like with work and life, yours came together. And I always talk about being a human wherever you're at.
Right,
How has your humanity in one seeing people as humans
right.
and giving grace and forgiveness helped you even in your career and there afterwards with that? So how has that helped you?
That's a great question. So it's most definitely formed my last project and this project. So I'm a film producer. So um, I like to tell good stories, obviously, right? So I don't want to necessarily live in all the good stories. I like to. So our next project is a trilogy, and it's called My Golden Blood, and it's really about. It was brought to me by my partner Noah Bewley, and Noah was my Lyft driver in Los Angeles 4 years ago. So when you're in prison, you don't really qualify. Let me see your resume. Let me just Google you. You don't have Google. Let me Google you and see if I can find your background. So I know if I should have a conversation with you. Or, oh, look, how many likes did you have in your last Instagram post? None of that matters. It's about that thing. Instantly, nighttime picked me up. I was just coming out of another project and it wasn't working out right. And I could hear from his voice, his intensity, his compassion. He asked such great questions. It was dark. I never saw his face. It doesn't matter. Except for the little app. So in the 51-minute ride, it was 51 minutes from one place in LA to the other. I recognize that this person shines. And so I like that. That's a thing my kids all ask, Mommy, does she shine? Does he shine? Well, this one was just, no, it was just exceptional. So I said, hey, here's my contact information. Please be in touch. I'm happy to help you. You're writing a screenplay. You seem really involved. I'm happy to help you. I've never written a screenplay, but I have an English literature degree, but I've never written a screenplay. So let me see if I can, who I know here in Los Angeles can help you. Sure enough, a couple days later, he emails me and he's like, it just says on the subject line, hey, hi, this is Noah, your Lyft driver, with a little smiley face. And I shot back, oh, I'm so glad you got in touch. I give my information to some people. They don't. I'm happy to help you. What are your needs? He said, I don't know what my needs are, but I really need someone. I would like someone to help me kind of walk through the process. So then we got to talking. And after 2 months, my youngest daughter said to me, Mommy, you're spending a lot more time mentoring Noah than you do the rest of your strays. So, because what they call him, you should Google him and see if he's a serial killer. So the serial killer thing never dawned on me because I know serial killers. So I was like, oh, interesting. So I Googled him and found this fantastic modeling portfolio that was really, really high end, GQ spreads and all kinds of things. In 2 months of a lot of interaction, phone, text, email. Have you tried look at this article? And did you see this? And have you seen this film? And he never mentioned it. So I asked him, could we have a FaceTime? And he's like, sure, that'd be great. 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock, boom. It was the exact opposite of catfish. It was that beautiful face. And I was like, wait, is this you? And I like held my phone to my laptop. I'm a grandmother. I don't care what he looks like. He could look like Scooby-Doo. I don't really care. Shaggy. Scooby. So I was like, I like Scooby better than Shaggy. So I said, and he said, didn't I mention? I've been a high fashion model since I was 14. I was discovered. My first client was Adidas International, but I'm shy. I don't want to be in front of the camera. I want to be behind the camera. And I said, the first thing I said to him was, I'm so glad I loved your soul before I saw your face. And he said, yeah, me too. The truth is, if you're looking for a person's soul, you're going to find it. If you can't find it, then you should walk away. If it's so many lobster shells between you and the soul, then you can't. We had a first FaceTime conversation. I look in those eyes. I'm like, this is a woman who is clearly looking to offer value. God has blessed you. You are going to bless others with with your platform. I was like, yeah, I'm in. So anyway, sure enough, I liked his material. I liked him. I liked the way his tenacity. I mean, I just really admired that. Interested by family, my parents love it, my kids, like it's a really cool scenario. So he became one of the family. And he said, I have this project. Hand me a script. I was like, this is great. We have to rip it apart and add flesh to the bones. We did. Then we wrote the book. And then with Amy Blashka, who's fantastic. And then we turned around and like, okay, great. And now we're in the process of putting together all the pieces to launch the book, make the film. Or nowadays, in the process, things change. If we would have made a film a year ago when we really wanted to, there wouldn't be distribution because I don't know if you noticed we had this pandemic thing and theaters aren't open and stuff. So it's like, okay, different platform, no problem. We can tweak it. God did that for us. The timing was for us and for him to start to write the second book or to finish the second, to get there in knee deep in the second book so we can all kind of step in. So it's not my timing. Like I don't get to decide. It's not, and I'm perfectly okay with that 99.7% of the time. So I was like, oh, come on. But most of the time, it's like only usually, yeah, like when somebody has to go to the bathroom, I'm like, okay, come on. But, it's like, okay, why is the door locked? I don't get it. So, but otherwise, it's like, okay, we have to be okay. We have to understand we're not in control of the timing. So so this project that he brought to me is called My Golden Blood. And it's about a young man who is severely emotionally and physically abused, a really abusive, alcohol-infused family. And and he runs away to a mentor. Says, I can rebuild you. The truth is, this mentor takes broken teenagers. He rebuilds them into human weapons, which are not good for anybody. And this film is for every kid who stood at their front door, and they hear the chaos in the back with their hand on the doorknob and that pit in their stomach. And they know that they know it's going to be bad when they go in, but they go in anyway to see if they can stop the chaos. And so every kid who runs away from home and joins a gang because we're going to make you big and strong and you can be, rich and have everything you want. And it's all a lie. It's all built on a fantasy. They're just using you. So it's for that. So that's the series. It's right now it's a trilogy.
I love it.
So first one comes from the perspective of Clay, the young man. As he tells his story and how he got there. The second one there's three main characters. The second one is from the young lady who kind of stops him in his tracks. And it continues the story, but it's from her perspective, what she sees. So we shift. And then the third was from the bad guy, because I had to create chaos. I have to destroy the world and rebuild it, because obviously people weren't capable of doing it themselves, and trying to justify how evil he is. And that's how Noah divided it up. And it's a really fantastic story. So we're super excited. The book will come out probably first half of next year is the plan. And I'd like to go into production sometime late next year. And the book itself will have little tiny Easter eggs in there, and you put your mobile phone with the app on top of it, and you'll see inside the book, you'll see 30 seconds of 3D motion capture animation. You'll see the action that you're reading about.
That's awesome. So with all this,
Yeah.
how would you say that what you've went to allowed you to get the creativity and not let it hold you back, but instead make you better?
That's a great question. So there are a lot of women who are left there and don't belong there, and there's the act of God, really. In the blink of an eye, they could be free, but it's hard. And I think about them a lot. Like, I really think about the things that I'm able to do. For that matter, I'm able to walk outside, like the little things I'm able to do. I'm able to go to Hollywood. I'm able to, meet with top level people. And I know there's the things that they will never have the opportunity to do. They'll never have the opportunity to live out their dreams. They're trapped in a system, and it's not a great system, and it needs to be overhauled. And I think a lot about them. It's really easy to justify doing really exceptional things, like really frightening things to some people, when you know that you're really doing it because you're taking a little piece of them with you, and you write to them, let them know, hey, I did this, and give them some measure of, like, you inspired me to do this, you inspired me to tell this story, you're the reason that I did this, and it gives them they need to know that they're worthy. Their story is worth being told. So a lot of their stories are built into this, little things that I've heard along the way that they'll never write a book, but I can put this little thing in there and someday they'll see it.
I love it. And I think that's something too for anybody. I think the point of this too is that you are actually in a prison cell.
Big
Some
time.
of us, we put ourselves in proverbial cells.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that for a minute. How do you see people putting themselves in cells and like boxing themselves in? And what advice or what would you invite them to learn to be able to break free?
So I'm a huge, ridiculously, my why, Simon Sinek, is to incite gratitude. So I truly believe that gratitude is the catalyst for heroic action. And we all have to be the hero in our own story. So that means not being comfortable. That means doing things that I didn't think I could. It means getting out of we've always done it this way, or I'll never do that. You want to write a story? You want to write a book? Start with an idea, an outline, a chapter. You want to create something? Start moving towards that. I always say that where there's a need, there's a seed. And so if there's something that needs to be done, plant the seed. And plant the seed and water it and care for it and watch it grow. And then you see that need suddenly disappears. So there's a million ways to be creative, and creativity can never be done in a box. So if it's telling jokes, if whatever your particular, talent or what your desire is, card tricks, anything, be creative. And then suddenly you'll see the box walls blow down. You're like, wow, if I can do that, if I can just juggle socks in my prison cell, which I could never master, by the way, because I can't multitask. But if I could, like, I know people who did, and it's like, oh my gosh, I broke down that wall, I can do another. And once you see them, you look, wow, I don't even have a box anymore. I can do more things. We limit ourselves so significantly, so much more than anybody else does. Either we have to deal with the echoes in the back of our head from memories. You can't do that. You're not creative enough. You're not talented enough, whatever things people said to us one time. It's not that we're not, it's they're not, and they just don't see what we can do. So I'm such a strong advocate of try it. And then try it again if you love it, and be grateful that you can actually pick up a pen, because there are people who cannot even pick up a pen. Be grateful when you walk outside and you can see something. Everyone can take a photograph. Everyone can capture an image. Everyone can tell a story, a kind word. Have you ever gotten there's an old joke my father said about a football player, and he goes to a dance, and this football player is like so not savvy, and he has to tell the girl a compliment. So he says to her, so she slaps him and walks out. And the coach is like, "What did you do?" And he said, "I told her the only thing I could think of that was nice. I told her that she doesn't sweat much for a fat girl." So he tried. So you get to that space where you're like, I'm just gonna try. I might get slapped, I might get pushed down, but I can do this. And then once you start to think I can do this, there go your cell walls.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And so we're right at the end of our time. So I do want to ask you one final question.
Anything, dear.
Anything, or for anybody that is apologizing for being sorry for finding joy in places of darkness, what advice would you give them?
So yes, apologize when it's necessary. Great. I am so against our natural inclination to apologize for anything that we perceive might offend somebody else, because we really don't know what's in their brain. We don't. Oh, I'm sorry I'm late. Instead of saying I'm sorry I'm late, what happens if you flip it? Thank you for being so patient. What have we done? We flip it to a positive. They feel, oh, I was patient, instead of us saying, oh, I take the blame, right? So we live in a world where it seems so easy to apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry, but I do. It's not that I'm not sorry. If something you do say egregious, obviously I bumped you, I hurt, whatever, something, of course. On the other side is, wow, finding the good in how somebody else could have reacted removes a lot of that need to apologize. And isn't it fun when you build somebody up and not demean yourself? It's a thing. It's a thing, and it works, and it sticks with you for a long time. When you walk away from that interaction, it's like, that really felt good. And if it feels good in that deep way, that's God telling you that was the right way to go. That the road, your path went from rocky to a little bit smoother, because you know how to switch this. We can only ever change this. That's it.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for asking me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Pleasure. It is. And I want to thank everybody that watched and listened today and that will listen later on the podcast. I do have one that says, Terry says, I have really enjoyed listening to your story. And Emily, this is one of my favorites. So thank you so much. And she also said after that she was going to try that tomorrow.
It rocks.
It does.
So it's a game changer. And then it's like, then don't say, oh, why didn't I think of it before? No, take the negative out of it. I'm so happy I figured that out today. I've heard that today. I'm going to try it. So let us know, Terry, because I want to hear what happened.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for joining.